The next stop is On the Radar Radio.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Yes, sir, baby. On the Radar Radio. Yo, special guest in the building. Haviah Mighty in the building. Welcome to the show.
Yo, that's
fresh off
having
Everyday
me through.
People in New York. Fresh off Fashion Week.
Yes, sir.
What's been the main purpose of this trip? Everyday People and this and
Yeah, everyday people popping through here, like checking this out and Sway in the morning.
Sway in the morning.
And
That's
look-
where you go. Good?
Lit. It's
You
always
rap
good
too?
to, of course.
Fire. Okay.
Of course. Always have to.
Fire.
Yes, sir.
It's funny because when we were talking when y'all guys came in, because they were like they're like, oh yeah, the room's bigger than ours. You said it was smaller than you thought, right? A little smaller than you thought. And I feel like that's like a lot of rooms in the industry. It's like it just feels like more compact. Everything like
For sure.
Like Sway's room I know was very small too, because I used to
Yeah.
work in that room too.
Oh, you did?
Not for Sway, for who came on after Sway.
Okay, that's the come
Yeah.
up. All right.
Well, I'm excited to have you here.
Of course.
How's Everyday People?
It was lit. Honestly, rooftop parties is a culture I need to get more familiar with. It was a vibe. It was packed. A lot of Afro beats. It was very Toronto, honestly.
Really? You
Yeah.
felt like it was very Toronto?
Yeah, like we listened to the same type of music. Like I feel like it was Toronto, but like more concentratedly black.
Right.
Which I like. And like it was packed. You know, everybody knows what's going on. So like maybe that's a little different than some spots. But yeah, like the energy, the people, the music, very Toronto.
I wanted to go. Shout out my brother Millhouse. He DJ'd the Toronto Everyday People, and that shit looked crazy.
I missed that one.
That shit looked crazy. He sent me a video. It was like packed, like wall to wall. He was like, nah, bro. He's like, Toronto is different.
Whereas everyday people in Toronto might hit different.
Yeah.
Our regular parties might not hit as hard as that, you know?
That's why when you said that, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, you gotta go perform at the one in Toronto.
In Toronto.
How do you feel like
Christina, let's set that up.
Yep, there you go. How do you feel like the New York crowd felt when you were performing? Like, did you get a good reaction? Like, what was kind of the vibe? Because obviously, you know, you're getting yourself out there in
Yeah.
New York, and the similarities between New York and Toronto, like we just said. So, how was the reception at the party too?
I feel like the reception was good. Like, I feel like that crowd is an interesting space because, like, you got DJ spinning records that everybody knows, songs everybody knows, and then they just kind of stop it to bring up someone that nobody knows. So it's like, you're definitely, like, you're, like, winning over a crowd or you're not. And I feel like New Yorkers will tell you if they don't fuck with what you're doing. So
Right.
they didn't show me that energy. Like, they were rocking, they were engaged, people weren't leaving, like, they were vibing, like, without knowing the words. So I felt like it was impactful for them still.
Yeah, you did some stuff off the new album.
Yeah, all the new album.
All
yeah.
the new album.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I
that's
brought out like
fire.
some of the Afro stuff because that was the vibe.
Right. You gotta still try to cater to the crowd at the same time.
Yeah,
too.
I was more like singing mostly for my little set, which is cool too because they didn't have any other like performers on the mic, so I feel like the crowd was kind of like, I've been told that's mostly DJs at Everyday People.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I don't think any everyday. I haven't been to a ton of them, but all the ones I've been to, there hasn't been anybody who came on stage and performed. It's only been
Yeah.
DJs. Who performed? Oh, Golding performed
Oh,
that one. I
word.
remember that one. And Manny Fresh. Oh wow.
I like to be associated with that roster.
That's tough. But so you're from Toronto originally, right?
Yes, sir.
Are you from Toronto? Or are you from a little bit outside?
I'm born in Toronto, but I was raised in Brampton, so I claim both.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people from a lot of people have come on the show and be like, oh yeah, I'm from Brampton too.
Yeah.
So Brampton's like what, like 10 minutes outside the city?
Nah, it's like 45-minute drive.
45 minute
But it's
drive,
like,
okay.
if you're an artist and you're from there, like all your work is going to be in Toronto mostly.
Right.
That's where like, it's the hub.
Right. It's like being from upstate New York, and then like obviously all the work that you're doing is from New York.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you were growing up, so like I always find it interesting when I get to talk to people who are from other countries. Like, who were you listening to? Were you listening to a lot of American artists? Was it like, or were there like a lot of localized Canadian artists that were kind of like that you were listening to that kind of became the inspirations for like this career that you have now?
That's a good question. I feel like growing up, Canadians being like relevant in hip hop, I feel like that's in a mainstream way anyway. I feel like that's a little bit of a newer thing. I think it's been very difficult for really amazing artists in Canada to like really cross over to the US. So yeah, like when I was young, I was listening to what was being fed to me, which was US artists.
A lot, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like the local kind of affinity. Like now, I feel like we have so much more access to artists that are like from the same ends and stuff, and like because we have control of our social media in a different way, you can connect with artists. But like when I was growing up, I don't feel like we had that liaison. You know what I mean? To artists that you could know, or it was all like kind of like across the border.
Right.
I feel like we were like not supporting our own the same way. I feel like that's still a problem a little bit.
I think that's a problem that a lot of people from Canada come up here and say like this. Like,
Yeah.
the supporting of the own isn't always there.
Yeah, so I feel like that cosign thing, sometimes like we search for it. But at the same time, Canada just doesn't have as many people. So sometimes like in order to make impact or create shifting of a change. You need more people to be able to grab onto whatever you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So okay, so you were mostly American artists who kind of influenced like your career and your sound and whatnot.
Yeah, like I came up in like I would say like battle rap era. You know what I
interesting.
mean?
Okay,
like
yeah.
2012. Like that's when I kind of fell into it. Like I was like a big 50 Cent fan. Like I was a big like storytelling rapper type fan.
Yeah.
Like so that's like a different era. So things have shifted a lot since I kind of got into it.
Right. How do you adjust to the change? Because you're talking about getting into it and being like heavy into battle rap like 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
So how do you like adjust with the times now too and try to keep your like what you make fresh?
Yeah, I feel like the important thing is just recognizing, like being welcoming to the shift and like allowing yourself to adapt. I feel like when you really love music, it's not difficult to respect the new sound because you love music. So you can always see the artistic merit in something new.
Yeah.
I feel like, if you get resentful and jaded, that's a scary position to be in. There's a lot of old rappers that can't keep up. My goal is always just listening to what's happening and like being able to appreciate the art of whatever anybody's putting out.
Right.
Right.
It's interesting too because like you also come from the background of being in a group at one point also.
Yes, sir.
So like how do you like because what's interesting for me when we get into these situations like because you got to kind of like rewire your brain because like it's like the group dynamic and then the solo dynamic, right? So like what was that kind of balance like too, like trying to make sure that your brain like you're like okay cool I gotta do group shit now and then boom now I gotta, but also like you gotta respectfully do your own thing at the same time also.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like I remember like joining the group came off of the strength of like a cypher I did back when Team Backpack had I don't know if you know that platform, but I actually came out to New York to do the cypher and that was like a little moment for me and the people that were in that cypher with me. And so we became a group called the Sorority off of the strength of that. But I was already making music for years, so were those artists. So to me, it was never about stopping what I was doing solo. It was about learning this kind of new avenue. Like, what is it like actually writing with other people, taking in their themes, taking in their concepts. But yeah, I just always knew that, I'm a very DIY like person. Like I always knew like I gotta tell my story. So that was just like a stop on the GPS. That was just like
Yeah.
like I was always doing my solo stuff. That's never stopped.
Kind of reminds me of like the Memphis girls how like Glow and all them they have like their super group. I don't even have a name for it, but like they all have like their super group, but then they all do their own thing like the rest of the time. Like they're not always like, together. They're still it's still Glorilla, there's still K-Carb and so on and so forth.
Exactly. Like I feel like it depends. Maybe some artists like they'd be fulfilled being in a group their whole career, but I knew that that wouldn't be enough for me.
Right.
It was really dope to experience though. Like we got to tour some of the first places that I toured in Canada was with the sorority and stuff. So that was cool. I learned what it's like to be in a group dynamic. I learned how to like put other people first, but at the same time I also learned when I needed to put myself first too. Yeah.
What helped you get to that realization point of like, oh, okay, I gotta put myself first? Was there like a specific moment?
I think it was just time, like, when we became a crew, like, I was just like, once we drop this album, I'm going to do my own thing, because I was just not able to put the time into me as much as the group. I had to choose something, and I felt like I wasn't choosing myself. And, like, in anything in life, I feel like you got to choose yourself. Absolutely. So I took a moment to, like, give my all to that, and then I was like, now it's me time. Yeah.
Time for me to go, like, rewire myself and get back to...
Yeah, and that kind of, like, like, I'm grateful for that experience. I think it gave me a lot of insight, but had I not done that, I wouldn't be here right now, you
wouldn't be able to get back to what you were doing.
Yeah.
It's cool, but it's cool because it's like you look back at like your career and doing that, like you already have like a lot of accolades, which like I had saw like this I guess this older article about like Double XL naming you like one of the top up
a few years ago
artists to watch. It's like, do you even like now at the point in your career, like do you look for those type of things? Like, do you strive for those type of things? Or you kind of like, like kind of how you were just talking about leaving the group? Like, are you just kind of on like your own path where it's like tunnel vision? Like, I'm just going to do what I do. And then if these things come.
Yeah.
Cool.
I feel like right now, like super tunnel vision. Like, I feel like I've gotten a lot of accolades and they're cool. I feel like that's always cool. But connecting with community and people is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And being able to like actually like shake hands and meet people eye to eye and like do interviews like this. This means more than any accolade could mean. Not to shit on those things. Like they have helped me get where I've gotten, and it's great to be recognized on like maybe like from gatekeepers from their perspective. But like like I want to like make sure that I'm impactful to like my people at the end of the day. That's the most important thing.
Right. Totally forgot to mention also you got nominated. I forgot to mention this with Double XL stuff, but you got nominated for the BET Hip Hop Awards.
Yes.
Best International Flow.
Yeah, only Canadian. That was cool.
Only Canadian.
Yeah.
For real. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's dope though.
Have you had any other Canadians up here?
A ton.
Yeah?
You got your friend Zach Zoya. Zach
did what?
Zach,
How'd I miss that? Zach.
He's
the first. His voice starts off my album.
Yeah, I know.
You did your research. Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I know. Like I've had Zach, A.R. Paisley, Smiley, TV Gucci.
All of them
obviously Drake.
Of course.
Who else? Help me out. Planet Giza, Roy Woods.
Lit.
Huh? We said Pressa. We did Pressa.
Any women?
Is she the first? I interviewed a woman from Canada on Zoom years ago, but I forgot her name. She was dope though.
Is this another first? Add it to the
I
list.
think you might be. You might. I'm blanking on somebody. There was another girl from Canada.
There's a girl named Ose. Yeah, I've heard of her.
Yeah, Ose.
That's lit.
Yeah, Ose.
I've heard of her.
She came and did it On the Radar.
Cool.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people from Canada. We're actually gonna go to Canada next year.
Yo.
We're gonna aim. Why are you looking at me like that? We're aiming to go to Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal to do On the Radar in those three cities.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely we'll keep tapped on that.
Yeah. But yeah, like, so since we're talking about Zach, right? And Zach starting off the album, like, what is the relationship with Zach? Like, how far back do y'all go?
Not even that far back. I played a show called Oshiega, which in Montreal is like a bigger festival. I met him there, and I've heard his voice. He's just got a crazy voice, but also spits bars. And like me as a singer-rapper too, I was like, I feel a synergy there. And then, yeah, for me, like starting the song, the album Crying Crystals, my album Crying Crystals, starts off with a song called Snowfall. And I wrote this hook or this intro, and I had it for like 2 years. And I just thought it was so impactful. My team thought it was so impactful, but I thought if the voice was like a male voice, like, I don't know, like, I just feel like when it comes to making good music, you have to lose your ego. And like, I feel like for some people, maybe it's a crazy decision that my voice isn't the first thing you hear on the album, but I feel like his voice is so impactful. I was like, yo, you know who'd be perfect to sing these lyrics? Like, just sing what I sang, but like, give me that, like, that's how it came to be. Is like, I knew that I wanted him on something at some point, and that just was the song, Yeah.
And then he was on a couple other tracks too. I love it though. I think it's super dope.
Yeah,
I love Zach, because Zach did the same thing when he did OTR. He did like a Drake beat, and I think he did something else, but he like sang and he rapped.
Oh, word. He would.
Yeah.
Showcase all the skills.
And it's funny because like obviously with the crystals being in the name of your project, when Zach came, Zach had like, I forgot what he had. I think he had like a crystal around his neck.
Ooh.
Something like that. I think I asked him about it. So I think it's kind of funny how like in my brain too, there's like that little synergy
connection.
There. Yeah.
That's cool.
How with this project, right? Because it was the first project since 2021, like the
yes.
project. Making this project, right? And even kind of putting your like you said, like killing that ego of like, oh, I'm gonna be the first person you hear on the album, like Zach be the first person. Was this project kind of like a killing that ego side type of album? Like, what is kind of like for you when you were creating this? Like, what was going through your head?
Yeah, like 100%. I feel like this album was like, in a way, like my coming out album. I feel like it was like my identity album. If you listen to a lot of my previous work, it's very politically charged.
Yeah.
Talking about my observations of what happens as a young black woman from Canada, what I've witnessed, what happens to black people. Like, I'm very passionate about race politics and those sorts of things. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my music is like observatory in nature. Like, this is what I see. This is how I feel about it.
Yeah.
I feel like I was able to do that because I was really trying to avoid personal things, like, and then I just got in a relationship that was toxic as fuck, and I needed to heal. Mm-hmm. And healing, like, music is my healing regimen.
Of course.
But in order to like let that out, I had to come to terms with things about myself that I was dancing around. Like, talking about all these other things allowed me to ignore the fact of like my identity and like to certain things that I feel like are not super aligned with hip hop. Like, I was in a relationship with a woman, and I was like, I'm Jamaican and Bayesian, and I'm just like, these things do not align.
Yeah.
So I had a hard time coming to terms with that within the music. So this album is all about that relationship. In order to create this, I had to go internal and not really give a fuck about what people felt about me letting out these vulnerabilities. And also not talking about what I'm observing, like, but talking about what I'm feeling, which is like, it's just vulnerable, It's very easy.
You're always talking about like what you see. You weren't really looking inward on a lot of past music.
At all. In fact, I was avoiding it. Yeah. Like, now looking back, I realize like I was just averting it, like creating a different identity for myself, because I'm like, these two things don't coincide. And what I realized and continue to realize, because it's still hard, like hip-hop I grew up on hip-hop. It's one of the main things about hip-hop is that being yourself is like literally the story. But at the same time, there's certain things we associate with hip-hop. And I know that I feel like I'm different. My approach is niche for what hip-hop is. And I feel like on one hand, people might not understand what that is when they first see it, but at the same time, people embrace things that are different and people embrace things that are real. Yeah. So it's like you have to get past what you think people would think and then be yourself. And it's weird because it's like that's the thing that could hold you back.
Right.
And it's also the same thing that could like open up all the doors for you. So I feel like this album was like, I just allowed myself to be vulnerable with myself and with my audience in ways I didn't allow myself to do before.
I like that. How do you feel now?
I feel free. I feel free. I feel better. I feel like it's translating in everything. My clothes, like my conversations, like my ability to open my eyes and just see everything. Like, because I'm living a truer life, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just not living a lie.
Right. Did you ever get contacted by that ex about the project too? I think
I mean, yeah, we talked about it. She's heard the album, like.
Really?
We used to be very close.
Those are tough conversations, and especially if you're close. Those are tough conversations to have now too.
Yeah, it's a movie. There's so much I can't even say because I just respect people
Privacy.
at the end of the day.
Of course.
But like she's definitely heard the album. We definitely talked about it. She definitely talked about it being difficult to listen to. But like I think one of the biggest validations I got was like her being like, despite disagreements I might have of maybe things you said I don't agree with, I would change absolutely nothing about this project. It's incredible, And I mean I feel like that without her input. But like it's nice to hear that from the person I'm like, I'm not shit talking, but you're the inspiration.
But
yeah. It's a crazy place to be.
Kind of beautiful too.
Yeah. It's real. It's very authentic. Like there's just like, yeah. I'm glad I allowed myself to do that. Like to allow myself to experience that.
Right. That's fire. Okay, so after this, where do we go from here?
To the top. No, I'm playing. But yes, I'm not playing. The top. We going back to Toronto like today.
Yep.
But we're coming back. We have a show in New York, Chicago, Atlanta. So we're working on doing those. What is it, Christina? November 1st, New York. November 3rd. November 5th, Atlanta. November 7th, Chicago. So make sure you check out my Instagram. I'll be posting those shows. Just trying to lay the footprint in the States a little bit more. Just trying to get this music out there. Like I really value the craft and art of like making music, and like I rap, I sing, I DJ, I produce. So yeah, I just feel like that can't just be happening in the northern, the northern side. Like we got to bring that out.
Yeah,
we got to go to Europe too. Right. So we're working on those shows. And what do we got coming up? We're dropping a music video for my song, Huh? So I got this song called Huh that I dropped a couple months ago. We just about to drop the visual. We got some things coming with that too, some goodies for the fans. And we got some tour dates coming up in Canada as well. But I think there's some other stuff right now I can't mention.
Just yet.
I can't talk about.
But
Not
there's
yet.
some dope stuff coming up.
Of always, like we try to stay ahead.
Awesome. And I also saw you got to meet Ashanti too, which I think that was
I actually opened for Ashanti, Toronto Jazz Fest. That was a cool show. A lot of the city came out. Got some fans there. That was really cool. Ashanti's really nice, really talented.
The best.
Yes.
Big New York. Toronto, New York.
Yeah, let's go.
Y'all see that, right? Well, look, it's been a pleasure having you here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for bodying that freestyle. That is out now by the time y'all see this, so go check that out. Crying Crystal's also out now, so go run that album up. Shout out my brother Zach Zoya on the intro for that. Before we get up out of here, anything else you want to let the people know, let the fans know where they can follow you at, all that good stuff? Now's the time to do it. This camera right here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's going on? My name is Haviah Mighty. Make sure you check me out on all social platforms, especially Instagram. That's HAVIAHMIGHTY. Tap into the Spotify, the Apple Music, YouTube, all the things. Definitely, if you're not doing it on your own, we're going to get you next year, so don't worry about it.
There you go. Well, make sure you go check out everything she has. Make sure you go follow her. Look out for those shows. Album out now. Go run that up. Freestyle out now. Go follow her. Go show some love. Go show some support. Love is free. Support is free. But y'all already knew that. Till next time. Haviah Mighty on the radar. We out. Bow.